Let's get it. What a poor connection.
Yeah, ready. Do I look cute?
You look like an Asian mixed breed.
Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
What time is your hair?
Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome back to Bob Kevin Makubo. Bob Kevin Makubo, aka Essie's dad, aka Babaga Essie, aka Daddy Boy. You know what I'm saying? Daddy Boy, if you're nasty. I'm joking.
Keep on, come on, fine, imagine now.
Welcome back to my channel where my husband often features.
Yes.
Yeah, we are back. It's been a minute. And I think the last time we came back, we were just sharing a bit of an update since Essie was born, I think.
Really, yeah. It's actually been more than like 3. How old is Essie? 8 months. More than 8 months. Ooh.
Before we get into the topic, please.
Yours is long. Subscribe to the channel.
Please subscribe if you haven't already joined the family. Thank you so much. I think by the time we launch this video, we'll be very close to 30k. I never say numbers. I never do the numbers game. My husband knows that.
I love it.
And he's the one who's very obsessed. Not obsessed, but he celebrates everything. So I think when we get to 30k,
celebrate.
Yeah, we'll just celebrate. And I just want to acknowledge you for following thus far. I believe that this year we're going to grow this family. I really desire that we grow this family so that many more lives can be impacted. Okay, anyway, let's get straight into the video. I wanted us to talk about our transition seasons. We realized that some of the parts that we experienced, so there's the part where we experienced the most, dare I say, friction within our marriage, or just that uncomfortableness, is when we went through seasons of transition. And I think this past season with Essie was the one that was most evident for us, where it was like, I know maybe for other people it's very devastating, whatever, but for the nature of our relationship, it was more of a harder season, dare I say, or challenging. Yes, let me put it that way. It was a more challenging season. So as we know, obviously all relationships go through that, and we just wanted to share our experience, the lessons that we've learned, what we could have done better, and maybe share some nuggets with you that which we learned, and we'll share obviously as we go along. I think on my part, like you said, that there's just a lot of physical changes. Besides the physical changes, mentally my mind is elsewhere, right? I'm preparing for this human being mentally, and I think for me, for me, one of the things that I'm not gonna lie, it helped me to prepare for motherhood, in a sense that I had to constantly meditate and say, this person is gonna be with me forever. This person is, yes, a cute baby, we love her, but this person is a responsibility. This person is my responsibility. This person is just a baby. So I can understand how frustrating babies can get, because sometimes they can just like do weird things and cry for no reason. But I had, for me, that was, dare I say, my meditation, you know, that I kept reminding myself that this person who's coming is a baby, you know, and you are responsible for them, responsible for their life. And I think over and just preparing for life of the life of being a mom, and if in the physical aspect, in terms of taking care of whatever it is, like making sure that everything before baby arrives is there, you know, to the best of my ability, to say, look, we have prepared the best as we could as the parents, to prepare for this baby. I don't think there's anything that we're going to need. And then also emotionally, but also at the same time, I wanted you around. I wanted you to just be with me. And I think even if I wasn't feeding you, that was just my, like, feeding you giving you your desires. I just wanted you to be around. Like, I just wanted you to be around, and that I could already tell, or you could see from just those two different things, we are like traveling on two different journeys. And those cracks began to show a lot, where I think even after Essie, Kev was like, no, I just need to go and chill with the gents. Gents for why? Why are we gensing? Why are we gensing? What steam do you need to blow off? Because I'm here with the child 24/7.
That's true.
I also need steam, like, to blow off, because it's overwhelming. What are those things that, you know, where are we missing it? But even when we had time to be together, it wasn't quality time. It wasn't the time that we were so.
It was more like
we were just chilling, like best chill, but it wasn't. There was something missing. Like there was just something missing. Like, you know, we were, and maybe when we were not really at it all the time or like arguing all the time. No, but even when we would sit together, no, something was missing. That was just for us.
That's true.
And then it was just then where we had to realize, okay, now we have to figure out where to from here. Because I remember listening to a podcast from Bumi and Brendan, and they were talking about the seasons in their marriage, and they were saying, or in their relationship as a whole, they said they were asking themselves a question, or each other question: which season did you enjoy the most? Did you enjoy us when we didn't have a kid? Did you enjoy when we had a kid, one child or two children? What season was the best for you? And I think Brendan was the one who responded, and he said, I can't choose which season because all of them were necessary.
Sure.
And that for me helped me, because I found myself in a space where I was longing for the before, right? Us before. When we were married, first married, I longed for the us when we were dating, that quality. And forgetting that when we're dating, everything is tra-la-la.
That's true.
La-di-da. Like, obviously, you know. So now when you're in marriage, and it's not like it was terrible. No. Just the quality of how we were, how we would connect. I would always be like, we were not even sleeping with one another. But when he walked through the door, I was like, attraction, yes. And then he'd walk in the door from work, and I'm like,
Ufuna nilona. That's what I'll see.
You know, and then you get a baby, but now you're longing for that thing that you had before that you took for granted. Which that was for me, that was my lesson. That was my lesson. And so when I heard that, and when I heard that thing that every season was necessary, I was then, okay, so be like, you need to sort yourself out, because it's never gonna be like that. For as long as it's never gonna be like that. But one thing that we kept true was that Essie was never an issue. She was never the cause of fight for any arguments. She was your child did nothing.
Don't blame the child.
Never ever blame a child who didn't ask for you guys to get together. You were doing your stuff, you know. Never ever.
Anyway.
I was rolling back. Never ever blame your child for a situation they didn't ask to be a part of. You don't blame a child for being a child. Yes, they'll tire you and overwhelm you, but most of the time they give you love 80%. So that's cool. The issue was just now, how do we reconnect at this level? Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. One of the things that I realized was, and I was talking to Kim about this, was that I guess now we're giving you practical steps on how to navigate the season, at least now that we've passed it and we have found ourselves in a better space and in a better groove of things. One of the things we learned is that you can communicate, but communication without understanding is zero. If you tell me what you said, and I can even reiterate what you've said, but that's one thing. But if I'm not understanding you, and if I don't have a perspective, your perspective of the particular issue, and understand where you're coming from, it doesn't take you anywhere. We realize this when we're having the same conversation.
Over months. No?
For months.
Same thing, and we were just not understanding each other.
Yeah.
We would even, what she just said, I would even say, this is what you said, I'll repeat it. Yeah. But for me, how I receive and perceive it, it was different.
Yeah.
And the difference of it just comes from how we were brought up, and also the exposure, and also background, your childhood, and how do you communicate in specific things. Because for me, if she tells me I'm not happy, I mean, I want to hear, what is it that you're not happy with? How can I change it? But sometimes I miss the heart of it. I'm saying it's not about fixing some things. That's another issue with me and also men. We come up with solutions without fixing the heart. So start with the heart first. It's not an easy thing, but also once you're doing the heart, make sure you come with a solution. That might not work, and make peace. It might not work same time, first time, or even second time. third time maybe, who knows, it might work. But that's why we're here in this chain, and continuing and also continuing to apply cool, and also being practical about how you guys communicate. But from the communication from my side, it wasn't been an easy side, because you would tell me and I would hear you, and there's even times where I would say, let me not comment, let me go sleep, think about it, but I'll still not get you. But yeah.
And I hear you on that, in a sense that they genuinely, we would genuinely miss each other in terms of communication. I wouldn't get what he was saying, because I'm like, cool, you said what you said. Can we focus on this?
Yeah.
Whereas when I'm trying to articulate my feelings or where I'm coming from, you on the other hand, you're just on another thing. And I think what then would make us explode is just then we don't have patience for one another.
That's true.
Or the tone then gets different. Now we're arguing about the tone. Most times, guys, and honestly, which is a conversation again that I'm definitely going to have with men one day. Like, is tone really important? Like, if I'm frustrated, I'm not going to say, doesn't go take
I would love to have that.
No, but then please, we don't live in Disneyland. But we'll discuss that. It would be just a nice conversation one day. But we would fight over, then end up leaving the main thing.
Hey.
Now we're arguing over, but
stuff.
Your tone, but it was just a mess, okay? I think one of the things that helped us communicate effectively, now that, because we're on the communication point, because there's only so much we can share, the gist of it all is that we missed it completely. We were not hearing each other. But what then happened is that we sought counsel.
That's true.
From our counselor.
I think before you say that, sorry, I don't think it might be off topic. With the communication, whenever we would talk and argue, another thing that I've learned is that if your partner starts to bring a dispute, let it be her session. Let it not be yours. Because if you also say now at that time she's not heard. Number two, also now it's like ping pong, which is something that she's been telling me. Like you giving me fire, I'll give you fire. It's not about that. Hear her out, which is she's not happy about this. Even if it frustrates you at that time, move and try to see if you can fix it. Then wait for your session to come, because you will end up, you'd find out most of the time it's important issues from different parties that both of you want to be heard, but no one is listening. All of you guys just want to talk, so everyone talks, no one listens. So rather listen first, and then after, then try your best just to deal with the issues, then bring your session later on. And it helps quite a lot.
And I think that's quite an important one, because whenever you find yourself in a position where, look, I'm not really happy about something, the first thing we do as human beings is get into defense mode, right? We're defensive, and we're like, but then you also do this, so you're not better, okay? And I think that's counterproductive.
Yeah, no, it's true.
I understand that we're human, and to be on the defense tends to happen, but when you look at the bigger picture, it's counterproductive for the kind of relationship that you're trying to maintain. And when you constantly are doing this back and forth unnecessarily, so you can end up hurting the relationship, if not the person, even more. Or your partner even more, and hurting yourself in the long run, because somebody's just trying to be right. So when we would communicate, those would be some of the stuff that would come up. So because we were always at this back and forth, and honestly about the same thing, we decided to just reach out, and we were like, look, we need to get a counselor, someone who will help us, because we're not hearing one another, and maybe we're missing something.
That's true.
And she then began to uncover a lot of things, where we would speak and just said, look, these are your strengths, these are your weaknesses, though. This is where you guys are falling apart. This is the particular thing. And it wasn't that she was changing or giving us new information. She was just giving us perspective on what we had been, and understanding on what we had been talking about for the longest time, right? Because we would talk, like we said, we speak about the same thing, but she would say, no, but this is what he's saying when when this is what he meant. And I'll be like, oh, okay, my bad.
And one thing just to add on, people, they think when you have a counselor, oh no, don't let it go to the point where you go to the counselor, where you guys are just not the same anymore. Because one thing she said to me, she said, Kevin, thank you, number one, for accepting and this invitation to come to be part of this session, because we are sure most men, they struggle with this. Whenever there's an issue in the relationship, we have pride. We don't want help and someone else telling you about your relationship, because you were told you're a man, you're supposed to manage your relationship. But that time, you know, your relationship is going down the drain. Why don't you just swallow your pride, allow this person to come through? For me, I don't think I had an issue with that, but I said, okay, let's try it out.
It just wasn't easy.
Yes, it wasn't easy, especially with the first session and also opening up to a new person. I'm like, mind you, because
that's the thing, especially when you go to things like counseling, you have to be honest. You have to you can't be filtered. You just have to be honest about the other person's grievances or your grievances, and just the openness of the first time was just not easy. The first one was not easy because I was like, yeah man, it just helped me realize that actually we were in such a heavy space. It was such a heavy space because we were just not okay. We were not feeling heard. And then we had, I think, about 4 sessions. I think three. Yeah, 3. But by the second one, I was like, but the third one was the one that was like, it was just that last chip that we needed to break whatever it is. That we, eyes were opened, there was understanding, and that was us. We were just committed to working on that. So be committed to that process. Be committed to it. Don't look at it. I think, again, we are here to encourage healthy relationships, and I think for whatever reason there seems to be this taboo where when couples go for counseling or therapy or whatever, that something is wrong. But you're right in saying sometimes you don't want to go masek moshagele because it might be just too far gone. You want to go and maintain, meaning we need a book actually this month actually, where we go and just an update, just finding people who you can go to and be open and honest with. So that was the first thing that we did. I think the most important thing is to communicate well, and if you see that the message is not going to cross across English, if the message is not getting across rather, then get some help. It's okay to get some help. But the second thing then is you have to, I would say, communicate your expectations and then manage them.
Yes.
Right? Because it's not managing. Sometimes we always told manage expectations, but then you end up suppressing. No, communicate them. Then I'll hear from you what you are able to do or what you cannot do. Then I can manage it based on what you tell me. You get it? Yes, right? Because it's not going to be, imagine if your expectations are you expecting that you're going to come home to oxtail and mashed potatoes and the baby's going to be in bed and then I'm going to be in laundry. I'm just making things up as I go along.
You'll be shocked.
Waiting and whatever. But you didn't ask me, Sugar, by the time I get home, what's still left for you to do after your day of work? So at least if I can tell you that actually, my love, I only have time for cooking after work. And then I focus on AC. Between cooking and AC, now I don't have any other time. Then his expectations are managed. Then he knows what to expect based on what I've told him. Because that stuff can offer, and based on what I've told him that I can offer. And one of the things I think that we had to learn, that sometimes I'd be so frustrated, I think within the first month or two, besides the fact that AC was colicky, she'd cry, and that was okay. It was manageable to some point. It was okay. But then we had something that kind of rocked my space, emotionally, that happened, that there were times where Kevin would come home and I'm just exhausted because I'm exhausted emotionally. And this is when Essie's like 2 months, right? I'm exhausted emotionally and I was just like, here, you take the baby. Or I'd be frustrated that you get to go to gym in the morning.
You don't.
But I wake up, the only thing I do, and then I wake up and I hope that she's going to nap for 30 minutes so that I can get that shower, because the tinier they are, you never really know what they're going to be doing. It's like they're in their own world.
Anytime.
And it was just, and secretly, without telling him, I'd get frustrated at him. I'm like, when you are
and I'd feel it, yes. I would feel.
Yeah. Until I told him, I'm like, but I don't mind that you go to gym, but I also want to go. I also want to go and take care of myself. You know, that hour for me in the morning, that 45 minutes for me in the morning is everything. It helps me to kickstart my day, and it helps me physically because I don't want to feel like I'm in a slump. So I need that time. And when I spoke about that, then you were able to adjust.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Right? You were able to adjust your schedule.
Once you sing scared, you're doing the right thing. Continue. It's a schedule.
So once you're able to adjust your schedule, then I could make expectations based on the agreement that we had.
And it worked because it only worked after she spoke.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what was expected of me.
Yeah.
And after the adjustment, I loved how it worked, because after I would feed AC, at that time when I'm feeding AC, she's gymming, and then after I feed AC, I'd bath with AC, not in the bath but in the same space. And then I was more intentional about actually giving her that time, that 45 minutes that she spoke about, because I realized it makes a huge difference, even with me as well. If you're not productive in the first hour of the morning, for me, it just messes up my day. But it was not fair, and I was not aware at that time. She's actually needing this, not only just for her to become a better mother, but for everyone else, for everything else that is calling her to be done. So that's why I'm saying, just allow her to be in that desire and that expectation. But also, if someone comes with unrealistic expectations, ask them, when you're saying you want maybe 5,000 every day pocket money, how do you want me to bring that about? And when you do that, you're just shifting the request, and then you're asking her to be in your shoes. Which, if you want me to do this, how can I do it? And not like I'm saying no, different tone. You see what I mean by that tone? Yeah. But when you talk about, okay, how would I achieve that with what I can offer, with what I have? And it helps quite a lot to manage those high expectations that are not real, because we need to be real. This is life. We're doing life together. Another
thing that is important now that we are here, I think the one thing, it's the second last point that I guess that I have, but the one that is the most important, keep the foundational aspects. I think there are so many changes that happen. There are so many things that change, you know, on a practical level, that, for example, I may have loved strawberries in one season, and then after the baby I'm like, I don't like this anymore. For example, I think even for me now, which is weird, I don't really enjoy red meat. Since pregnancy, I never ate red meat. It was one of those things that I couldn't ingest, which crazy, because before I was like, no, give me 4 steaks, mate. 4. I would eat a lot of red meat, and then now I'm just like, I'll have a little bit. I'm not crazy about it. But those are the simple things that you can change and adjust. Those are not foundational aspects, but there are certain characteristics of the relationship that, regardless of what happens within your marriage or relationships, those core things that should not change. How you guys treat one another should not change. How you see your partner should not change, because it's very easy for your lens to be shifted for whatever reason, really the one day, or Wednesday this one thing, or these 2 things, and then your lens changes. I think make sure that you stay grounded in the things that you that are core and that are true to you. And I guess another thing, because now we have baby, it's much, man, we thought getting married was like, okay, now it's hard to do devotions, and then we picked it up along the way. Having a baby it's even harder to get back onto the devotional train, because it's like, where do I fit this person in? Besides the fact that you're waking up every 2-3 hours, yes, that's hard, and I believe that there's grace. You know, God gives you grace for such seasons. God is not an unfair God. I don't think he's like that, and in fact I know he's not like that. So he'll never say, "You're busy breastfeeding the kid, you didn't pray." Nah. No, that's us as people, yeah. But God is not like that. But when the time comes for you to go back to what is important, I think one of the things that we are still learning even now and building back towards is making sure that these core values don't shift. If it is that in this house it's Christ, then in this house it's Christ. Point blank, period. In this house, sorry my love, if it's prayer, it's going to be prayer. And we have to fight for those foundational principles that kept us in the beginning.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's the exact word that I wanted to use, the foundational principles, where it shouldn't change.
Yeah.
You don't like this word, regardless.
Regardless.
It shouldn't change. It's like I would with an example, if you're in the medical field, you took an oath, whether you work in theater, whether you work in casualty, whether you work in MOPD, it doesn't matter. It still stays the same. So it's the same thing that you are saying to the core principles. And Nakona, if you feel like those core principles are not being touched or we're not practicing them, bring it up and saying, look, this is what we agreed upon in the beginning. Let's just see how do we get into that. And if your partner is trying to fix that thing, walk that journey with them. Together. And also, yeah, that's the word. It becomes easier when two of you are working together in this one issue. It becomes much more quicker when you're fixing it, when you control it. So go back to your foundational principles.
Fully.
Fully. Yeah.
Fully. the last one, I think, which is the most important one, fight for your commitment.
Yeah.
You guys made a commitment to be with one another. I think that is the most important thing that you should be prioritizing, because regardless of, I think in our position, regardless of this transition that we've had, which is this child, she's going to grow up and, you know, live her own life one day. We will do. I'm in love. So, you know, at the end of the day, she's going to grow up, and any other child that will have that, they'll grow up and live their own lives. And we made the commitment for it to be us too. And I think that's the most important thing that we have to fight for, that we made this commitment. So even through this roller coaster of a transition season, we need to fight for one another. And it's that thing of, you may fight for it, but you also need to make sure that your partner is also in the ring with you.
That's true.
It's not a fight if you're alone in the ring. It's not a fight if uyuwani. If you find yourself constantly having to pick up the pieces and you see that this person is just not interested, then I think from there, that's the most painful different thing, story. Sure. And I can acknowledge that is obviously a painful thing, and maybe there you can continue to seek the assistance, you know, maybe for your partner or whatever the case may be. But for as long as you guys, though you may be tired, but your hearts are in it, continue to fight for the health of the marriage, because at the end of the day, we need to nurture this friendship that we have, right? We need to nurture this, the intimacy that we have, the love that we have. We need to nurture that so that this child grows up in an honest, healthy environment, not pretentious. This has been my cry. Kids can pick up things, yeah. They can. Kids can pick up things. This has been my cry for the longest time. I don't like the notion of ubegezela, but you are literally crumbling to pieces and you're broken, you're fighting alone. Maybe someone else must have a conversation with me, but right now I don't think that's fair, because the child can see this thing is not working. Actually, this thing, I don't think, if they're saying that you must stay just for the sake of making sure that the ring stays on your finger, but it's just impossible to navigate, then maybe seek counsel somewhere else. I don't think I want to touch on that topic or tell you what to do. Other people will tell you what to do, those who may have walked the journey or people who know better, people who have counseled. I would never tell anyone what to do. But I think from where you are, for as long as there's two people trying, fight for the commitment. So that's us just sharing a bit of our, I guess, our journey, our lessons. Obviously it's still a journey, so we will always continue to share with you, but transition seasons can look like anything. It can be the loss of a loved one in your life, extended family member. It can be whatever, a huge change, sometimes even a good thing, you know, promotion at work, but it will require so much more of you. That in itself is a transitional season that you have to be equipped, you know, and then use these things, communicate, manage expectations, and fight for the commitment. I think that's important. And keep the core values core. Even when good things happen to you, keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah.
You know, keep those values. Don't change now just because of Buli. No, don't do that. Don't do that. But also don't crumble and lose that good thing and those good values that you've learned just because life has dealt you a tough card. It's a hard thing, hard pill to swallow, but I feel like that's one of the things that you need to fight for as well. That is it from us. I hope that you guys have learned this video. I think it will encourage a lot of us and also show you the reality of what relationships entail. But get in the ring, fight for one another. No one's going to be embarrassed. It's part of life, you know. You're fighting for this love together. Nothing is embarrassing about that. It's all love. I hope that you guys have learned something. Share the video, especially if it's a nugget, you know, or if it's going to be a nugget or two for other people who might.
And it happens with many relationships.
It happens with many relationships. Yeah, it might not only be, you know, the child, but because some people apparently they move on really well and adjust well, and that's awesome. But in most cases, from what I've heard, you know, other families, that it is one of those things where it's like you have to adjust. It's a hard thing to adjust, but then you get the hang of it just because it's simply just that it's a new thing, right? So yeah, if it has touched you in some sort of way, if you have learned something, yeah, please don't forget to share it. Comment below, share your comments, share your thoughts, and yeah, please don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Tell your friends, tell their friends, tell their friends to like, comment, and subscribe. Till next time. Bye.
Bye.